This video was brought to you in part by my Patreon patrons. If you want to support my channel, for only $2 a month, you gain access to my private Discord server where, trust me, all the coolest folks in the world hang out, behind-the-scenes bonus content including details on secret upcoming projects, and even early videos. If you're interested in helping me out and joining this awesome community, just head to patreon.com/arlostuff. That's manners. Hello, my beautiful friends. I am sorry that I'm here before you once more as a disembodied voice. As many of you know, I had a surgery, and then there was like complications, and I had just neck problems, and it was hard to do anything or record or whatever. I will have you know, I am doing better. I'm recovering very slowly, but I am recovering, so I'm here. I'm trying to get back to work. And I'm mad, though. I am mad because I've been meaning to make this very video for a very long time, and it kept getting delayed, and then I was gonna do it, but then we had all this and the surgery and the complication and all that stuff. Lo and behold, here's a whole bunch of rumors coming out. Apparently, the next Nintendo system is coming holiday next year. We got dev kits in people's hands, if the rumors are to be believed. So now everybody is pretty much sure that it's gonna happen, and I don't get a lot of opportunities to be right, you know? So like, I really wanted to put out the whole video. I'm lucky that my thesis that we are getting a Nintendo system, holiday next year, the new one, the next generation. I am lucky that I put it out there in a couple other videos that I've done, so I can still say that I wanted the full experience. You know, I wanted to like make this video, and all the comments are like, you're stupid. And I'd be like, you're stupid? And then next year we get a new system and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Arlo is a genius. He just completely called it. He's so smart and handsome. I don't get that, but oh well. Such is life. It is what it is. So I still am doing this video. I still want to talk about it, and I want to put forth this thesis and explain where I'm coming from. But it really has nothing to do with the rumors. You know, maybe I'll do a video on the rumors another day or something. I don't really know. But like, what I want to communicate to you is not necessarily what we're being told by these people, and more what I already felt, so that I can feel more right. You know, I have to let you know how specifically I was right. No, sorry. Point is, there's a picture being painted by everything that's going on, and I want to explain to you my reasoning why I am and was and will be so sure next Nintendo system, holiday next year. Switch 2, or whatever it ends up being. I'm just gonna, for the sake of conversation, I'll just say Switch 2. What it actually will be, we don't know, and that, you know, what it might be is a discussion for another day. Also, technically, while I believe it's next year, it could technically come in the spring like the Switch did. It could be March, it could be the fiscal year kind of thing again. I don't really think so. I feel like the Switch, Nintendo was really trying to rush to the market. It was kind of a weird mid-generation thing, so I think that was a special case. If there is a new system coming next year, I see no reason to believe that it wouldn't just wait for the holiday, because that makes sense, you know? So the thing I want to address first is that whenever I bring this up, whenever anyone brings this up, you get a humongous number of people coming in and saying it's too soon. Why would they give us a new system if the Switch is still selling? That's the thing. Everyone's saying it's still selling. No need for a new system. Get this all the time. And I don't want to I don't want to throw shade at anyone saying that. You listening right now, you might have been saying that. A lot of people have been saying it. I just feel that this perspective is very short-sighted. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yes, the Switch is still selling. It is still making Nintendo a lot of money. But you have to look at the overall sales. Sales are declining. In a recent video, I discussed whether or not I thought the Switch had a chance to become the #1 highest selling console of all time. And as we discussed in that video, the Switch's sales have peaked. Pretty much any system you look at, you have the beginning, you have the peak, and then it declines after that. And the Switch is currently in its decline. It's declining from a very high point. So these yearly sales are still very good, but they are dropping. If Nintendo chooses to do price drops or really aggressive bundles or whatever, they might be able to stave off, this decline, kind of keep up the momentum a little bit. But there's only so much they can do. The decline is happening. It's a fact of life. We might not want to admit it, but the Switch is reaching the saturation point. It's reaching the point where anybody on this planet who wants a Switch has probably got a Switch by now, you know? There are a finite number of people who might want to get a Nintendo Switch, and we're reaching the maximum point here. Also, Nintendo has released major games in nearly every series. You know, you've got all your Marios and Zeldas and Pokemons, and you've got all this great stuff. Yeah, sure, they're missing some of the more niche stuff, but what else is gonna get systems into people's hands? They've done everything they possibly can to make the system seem just attractive to potential buyers. The thing is, it's still selling, but you can't just wait until it stops selling and then develop the new system, you know? Like, you can't. If you do that, then you're already too late. If people are saying that next holiday is too soon, okay, well, this year, it's gonna sell less than last year, which was less than the year before, and next year, it's gonna sell less than this year, and it might be a very sharp decline if Nintendo doesn't do a lot of really aggressive price drops. There is every reason to believe that next year will be the poorest year that the system has ever had sales-wise. And you're saying that next year is too soon for a new system? No! I'm sorry, getting a little intense. It just doesn't make sense to me. You've got to plan this stuff years ahead of time. It takes years to develop a new system. And you're not gonna just develop a new system and then sit on it. No, like, all of this stuff has to be planned years in advance. They don't even necessarily know what the Switch's final years of sales are gonna be like, but they still have to plan for that inevitable next system. You've gotta launch that system when the timing feels right, but you gotta plan it all out. Everything has to be really carefully considered and executed. I have no doubt that the Switch is gonna make Nintendo money for years, you know, especially if they do price drops, you know, turn the Switch into a budget system, you know, even if there is a Switch 2 in the picture. Yeah, I have no doubt it'll sell for years, you know, it may have that 10-year lifespan that Nintendo was talking about. Even if it's not the primary system for 10 years, it's still alive and selling for 10 years. It completely makes sense. But whatever happens, a new generation is inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. It's imminent, it's coming. But why, you ask? Well, let's talk about it. It is no secret that a lot of Switch games, you know what I'm gonna say, they're struggling to run. Not all customers care about resolutions and frame rates and all that stuff, you know, but a lot of them do. And you know who else cares? It's developers, people trying to make games for this system. It's gonna get harder and harder to attract talent to develop for the system, you know, third parties and such, when people can't see their creative visions realized without a whole lot of compromise. Sure, Nintendo, first-party games, sometimes they're magic. How does Tears of the Kingdom run? Oh, I don't know, it's a big mystery, but you know what, like, that's Nintendo working on their own system. Not everybody has the time and the talent and the money and the skill and everything to just magically wring every last drop out of the Switch hardware. Here's a big one though. Here's a really big one. Third-party support is good. There's plenty of third-party stuff on the Switch, making them a lot of money and all that. But it could be so much better. Generation 9, the one we're in right now, your Xbox Series X, your PlayStation 5, it's super boring. It's really, really unimpressive, in my opinion, and I think the opinions of a lot of other people too. Good games are coming out, but like the difference between Gen 8 and Gen 9, it's so microscopic. Some of the biggest AAA games, even years after the launch of these systems, some of the biggest AAA games are still cross-gen. Sony's big AAA, like God of War. You hold it up to the PS4 version, the PS5 version, you can't even tell the difference. And they've got some games that are only on PS5, but it's like, we can't really see why. You know, like you could easily imagine these games running on the previous gen hardware. It's like, well, maybe it looks maybe a tiny bit nicer, I guess. I mean, the load times are better, but like that's basically it. The point is, we have every reason to believe that the Switch 2 or whatever will be approximately as powerful as a Generation 8 console, an Xbox One, a PS4. And if that's true, then suddenly Nintendo has access to an immense library of easy ports. Gen 8 games ported to Switch have to be compromised so much, but suddenly that wouldn't be as much of a problem anymore. You could get whatever to run on the Switch too. Suddenly you could have your Call of Duty, your Elden Ring, your Resident Evils and Street Fighters. You know, Capcom and Nintendo, they're great friends, and now, like, oh my gosh, we can put everything on the Switch too. It's easy now. Basically anything. So the faster that Nintendo gets this more powerful system out, the faster that they get to start making money from these Gen 8 ports, or cross-gen Gen 8, Gen 9 ports. They can finally get a bigger slice of that delicious third-party multi-plat pie. Nintendo put themselves far behind, but everybody else started to slow down, so now they have an opportunity to catch up. I mean, my gosh, it's an opportunity for Nintendo to share in multi-platform releases with their rivals for the first time since the GameCube. That's huge. And then if you just want to talk in a more like broad tech world kind of sense, you know, yeah, sure, Switch still selling and really great games are still coming out for it and everything. Maybe you could just keep it just the way it is, but like, it really can't last forever. Things are going to grow stale. I feel like they're already growing stale. In the tech world, you've always got to be moving forward. You don't want your product to feel like antiquated tech. It's not a good look, really, for anyone. Releasing the next system in a timely manner, it's all part of the process. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but as far as like graphical capability goes, the Switch is running Gen 7 tech. Literally 2 generations behind the competition. These graphics are 2 decades old. 2 decades, almost. Nintendo likes to be behind because it's cheaper and easier to develop for, but come on, like, there is a limit. So we come to it. Why now? Even if next gen is inevitable, why am I so sure that it's next year? Honestly, I think it just makes sense. It just feels like all signs are pointing to that happening. I firmly believe that the Switch Pro was going to happen. It was a real thing. But then 2020 happened, and suddenly no one could get their hands on chips, and it just became a big thing that was just too much trouble for Nintendo to go through. If it had happened, I think that that would have given the Switch a little bit of extra life. We would have had a little bit of extra power, might have extended its life by a year or two. But when that didn't pan out, Nintendo just said, you know what, forget it, let's just cut the generation a little bit short and instead put all of our resources into just making the next one. Next holiday will be about 7.5 years from the launch of the Switch. That's a really long time. You really just got, you know, if you think that's too soon, how is that too soon? Especially for such dated graphics. How? Generations used to be 5 years. Then 7 was like kind of a long time, but now 7 is kind of standard. So 7.5, like, that is completely reasonable. At that point, Nintendo is basically past due. Furthermore though, it's the release schedule. It's the games that we have been getting. Nintendo is still giving us games. They're doing an amazing job there, don't get me wrong. You know, like, past generations, they, like, their systems, they just kind of coast those last couple years. They don't really release much, and it really stinks for everybody. Not here. They're giving us loads of games. They're doing a great job. But when you consider the release timing and the nature of a lot of these games, it just feels to me like things are winding down. Tears of the Kingdom really did feel like the last really super big mega AAA one, you know? Now that that's out, it feels like the stakes are lowering, you know? Like, what games have we got coming up? Mario RPG. Looks amazing, but you know, it's still a fairly basic remake of a game that has already been designed. They could have easily just outsourced that to a different studio. I don't know. And then we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like, it looks amazing. It's gonna sell like crazy, but you know, again, like, this is not a big, huge AAA, you know, it's a 2D platformer. It's a lot simpler and easier to develop than a lot of games. It's gonna be a big 2D platformer, don't get me wrong. It's just a project on a smaller scope. It feels more strategic. And what have we got for next year? Almost nothing. We've got a Luigi's Mansion remaster, so a remaster. It's a very small project. And we've got a Peach game, and I'm sure that's gonna be great, but like, if the footage they've shown us is any indication, it does not look like a really humongous project. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it ends up being something bigger, but like, I don't know. I could kind of see it not being that huge. A solid release, but again, not a big AAA blockbuster. And then we haven't had a whiff of Metroid. Like, I really believe it is not coming to Switch. I think it's just coming to the next system. Nintendo claims they don't like to announce games too far ahead of time, but their actions prove that that is just not true. Waiting a year or more between reveal and release is very common. There's plenty of games that come out shorter than that, but like, the bigger games tend to take a lot longer. It has been that way for so much of the Switch's entire life. But right now, it feels like that window is shortening. You know, the future is becoming more and more empty. This September, they could announce more. They could announce any number of things for next year. Absolutely, and I'm sure they will. But I'm willing to bet that it's gonna be more smallish games, you know, remakes, remasters, kind of more economical projects. We're gonna stop seeing these bombshells, because that is what happens when you are working on bombshells. Nintendo's always working on bombshells, but they can't reveal them yet because they haven't revealed the system that they're going to be on yet. I talked about this in a video on Metroid Prime 4 and why I don't think it's coming to Switch. If the game was coming to Switch, they would have every reason to give us some small tidbit of it. But a good reason why they wouldn't be able to do that would be if it wasn't coming to the Switch. Similarly, recent video about Super Mario Odyssey 2. Why did we never get a big 3D Mario follow-up when we got Odyssey in the first year? They've had plenty of time to make a new one. What's a good reason why? Well, because they're saving it for the next system. As I said in that video, Nintendo always has a 3D Mario within the first year of the system's release. It was like that on the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch. It's how they do it. If they released a new 3D Mario anytime soon, that would not leave them enough time to make a whole other new one for within the first year release of the new system, you know what I'm saying? It just makes sense that they're holding onto it and they are waiting for the release of a new system next year, or, you know, within the first year of that system's release. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the picture being painted. It just feels like all of these little elements, each individual one does not say anything on its own, but when you put them all together, it's just, that's the way the wind is blowing, man. All signs point to a new Nintendo system next holiday. It just makes sense when compared against every other piece of information that we have. It fits too perfectly. And you know what? If there's a September Direct and they announce Super Mario Odyssey 2 coming March next year on the Switch, then yeah, that's gonna mess things up a little bit. But at least right now, makes perfect sense to me. I think next year is the year. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Or if you still want to say, Arlo, you're stupid, you still could. Like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm kind of going out on a limb here. Not as much because of the rumors. If it weren't for the rumors, I'm going out on a limb. I'm putting myself out there. I'm making this bold claim, and if I'm wrong, I'm gonna look really dumb. Whatever. So yeah, let me know, and I am gonna go lie down. I was able to do this, so look at me, I'm recording a video. This is good. Really getting back on the ball. I love you dearly. I hope I can start streaming again sometime soon. Pay attention to my Twitter if that's something you're interested in. Maybe. I'm gonna give you a maybe. Okay, bye.